Hi, this is Stacia, and I played a game on chess.com against Remchene, rated 1720, and he played the white pieces, and I played the black pieces, rated 1554, and this is on chess.com. So, rough game. I suffer a loss in this game, and yeah, from what I can tell, I only made one mistake. So this player is obviously strong. And sure enough, I checked his stats after the game, and he's rated 1903 in FIDE. So very strong player, about 400 rating points my senior. So um, yeah, I want to in that case learn from the game, right? Because honestly, after the game, I was like, I don't even know where I went wrong. Like, what happened? How did I lose? So let's take a look at it. So he played e4, and I played d5, the Scandinavian defense. He took, queen takes, knight c3, queen a5, and d4. Thrusting in the center, I played knight f6, developing move, and bishop d2. So this is very common in the Scandi. He's now threatening discoveries, although they're really not that threatening. So c6, just creating an escape square for the queen. And now knight f3, developing. Bishop f5. And yeah, white can actually play knight e4 now if they want to. And in this case, I'll play queen c7. They take, and I take with the g pawn. And you can play this position. It actually turns out okay. But my opponent did not choose that in this game. They decided to play bishop c4. Very good post for the bishop. I have to tell you, as a Scandi player, don't really like it when the bishop's here. Puts pressure on the e6 square, and a lot of times white will castle, play rook e1, queen e2, put a lot of pressure down the e file. And yeah, if black's not careful, that can be deadly. So you do have to be careful. I played e6 here, need to get my bishop out, and he castled. So castling to me is, it kind of gives me a tempo to get out of trouble. It's kind of sad that the Scandi's a little bit suspicious when you have to worry about being in trouble in the opening. But I think, more testing moves like queen e2. And after this, white is pinning the e pawn. And now sacrifices are getting more real because knight h4 could kick the bishop away. So after this, though, black can just play bishop b4. And that stops any d5 business. So, okay, that didn't happen in the game, though. He castled. Okay, and after castling, I decided it was time for a queen retreat. And I'm happy that I did this because turns out it's the 100% book move, which I wasn't aware of that, but it felt like after castling, I have time to play this move. And now rook e1, pinning my e-pawn, and so I played bishop e7, unpinning. Computer likes bishop d6 a little bit better. Oops. Yeah, I noticed Stockfish always wants to create this queen-bishop battery and maybe force white to play h3, I guess. But I liked bishop e7 because it broke the pin, and it's totally fine. Now my opponent played bishop e3, so a Bobby Fischer move. h6 I played. Okay, so h6, I'm stopping the move knight h4 here, because knight h4 will attack my bishop. My bishop will drop back, and then he can take. And I want to castle kingside, but I thought h6 needed to be played. Actually, it doesn't. This is interesting. You can actually castle, and if knight h4, do you know what you play here? The move knight g4. Interesting. So saying you played knight h4, good for you, but you left your h pawn vulnerable, and specifically the h2 square. So really the only move is knight h3, unless you want to let black take here, which I don't think you do. And yeah, and from here it might go like, how did it go? Oh yeah, now you get h6 in anyways. And they could play like knight e2, bishop d6, applying more pressure, and then finally h3. And our knight is just going to come back as well. So it's kind of funny because you get a similar position, but like my knight jumped to g4, jump back. His knight jumps to h4, jumps back. Typical computer line, I guess. But yeah, so castling was actually fine. I like little nuances like that in the opening. Helps you kind of understand what's going on. All right, so anyways, I played h6 after bishop b3. And now he played bishop e3. Kind of a mysterious move, but I think his point was that he might want to play d5 at some point, and now the queen is behind the pawn. I played knight bd7, and now queen d2. Oh, this might be the other point, right? He might be thinking about sacrificing. This sometimes happens in the Scandi, this sacrifice. But I looked at this, and I have a lot of defenders around my king, so I wasn't so worried about it. So castling says, go ahead and sacrifice if you want. I welcome your sacrifice. All right, so yeah, and just to demonstrate, it doesn't really work here. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. And after this, I have knight g4. And really, the queen's just on her own. There's nothing going on. She's going to have to retreat, maybe all the way to c1. And in this case, black's only slightly better because, well, our king's a little drafty, a little bit. But, if you can defend this, it's going to work out. All right. So he did not go for that. He played rook a1. So applying pressure down the d file, well, I guess supporting the d pawn. Played rook a to d8 and bishop f4. And this is very common. I see this all the time in the Scandi now, this exchange. And I don't really like my queen on d6. I mean, it's fine, but I would prefer my queen on c7, honestly. He played knight e2. All right, we're getting to the middle game. Or I guess we've been in the middle game for a minute. Yeah, so here I needed to come up with some kind of plan. And it seemed to me these knights are a little awkward. I went ahead and attacked this guy, threatening to double the pawns. But he simply defended with queen e3. I like queen e3 because it also lines his rook up with my queen. So I didn't like that so much. And now here, computer says play knight d5 is fine, or rook f to e8. I made sort of a hasty move. I took here. It's totally fine to do this, but you don't really need to. And then after queen takes, I just simply wanted to get out of the pin. So I don't know. It's fine. I'm just staying solid, but I feel like I didn't necessarily get anything out of that trade, but I don't lose anything either because his queen just moved and now has to move again, But, okay. Queen c7. He played c3, so he's staying solid as well. Rook f to e8. And now, so I'm at the point of the game where I want to play one of my two breaks. I want to get in either e5 or c5. And I was trying desperately to see if I could get these to work. And there just wasn't a whole lot. It just seemed equal if I played them. So I didn't really see what I could do. He played knight g3. And I played knight d5. Yeah, not seeing anything good out of the breaks, I thought I would just improve my knight. He played knight f1 now. Curious move. So he wanted to get to the e3 square with his knight, I guess. It's pretty interesting. I guess to trade off my knight on d5, because my knight is good on d5. So maybe that's what he's doing. And I bring in my other knight, and he challenges my d5 knight. Okay, so it's at this point of the game I decided to play a pawn break, and I don't think it was the best time. So computer says best move is b5. It's a curious move to me. Yeah, I guess the idea is b5, a5, a4. But probably white could play a4. So yeah, if that's the best idea the computer has, then I'm not impressed. All right, I could also take on e3, it's saying. Yeah, it was hard to know what to do, but I played e5. I went for this break. So what I'm learning about pawn breaks is that really when you do them, you want to strive to have your pieces x-raying stuff. Like it would be helpful if, say, his queen was on the e3 square and my rook was x-raying that queen or something like that. So when you play the pawn breaks, those x-rays a lot of times cause huge issues once things break open. But in this case, I played e5, and I think it's actually worse for me. If you look at what the bishop's doing, it's actually x-raying the f7 square as well as the queen. So this square is sensitive, and you'll see this does become an issue. In addition to that, I don't have a whole lot of guys on the e5 square. I think I only did this break because the knight is interfering with the rook's defense of this square. But of course, the problem with that is he can just take. And now that's not the case anymore. I took back, and he played d takes e5 now. And now the rook is defending. So, all right, I pretty much have to take, or I'm going to lose a pawn. And he took, and then I played queen takes. And all right, so now we see that that pawn break wasn't great for me. Computer says white's only slightly better, so it's not like it was horrible or anything. But I can tell this guy's a 1900 player because he's playing really well. Like there's no mistakes going on, and he's probably understanding things a little better than me. A lot better than me. All right, so now we see that this is actually a real threat. My knight is now pinned because otherwise he could play queen takes f7 check. Don't want to see that. The other thing that's going on is my knight's pinned another way. The rook is threatening to take this with check. So like if I were to move my knight away right now, all hell would break loose. It would be the worst move ever. All right, but it's actually white's turn. And he played g3. And honestly, I hated to see this move. The only idea I had was to play my rook here, threatening, having a threat there. But he played g3, and now that's not a threat. And now I made my one mistake of the game. I played queen e7. And can you see why that's a mistake? So clearly, I saw my two weak points, and I wanted to defend them. But what I forgot is that he actually has 3 guys on d5 compared to my 2. So he played the best move, which is to take. And I took. And he took. And yeah, I mean, I just lost a pawn, right? And it's not the end of the world to lose a pawn. But now I'm just going to be fighting for a draw at best. I played a6. He played king g2. Good move. you want to bring your king up in the endgame. And he's probably anticipating a queen trade at some point. I played queen c7. Not a good move. Yeah, and honestly, I didn't know what to do here. I know that I want to target this guy or this guy, but you know, I feel like he can push these at any moment. There's no like permanent target. So I didn't know what to do. Computer says king f8. Okay, fine. Queen c7. It's basically a waiting move, maintaining defense of my pawn. All right. Yeah, now he should get his queenside majority rolling. And he does with the move c4. Now I play king f8 and b4. So they're getting rolling now. And of course I was in time pressure. I think I had like 2 or 3 minutes left. So I played queen c6. This forces a queen trade. And I just thought, you know, maybe with the queens off the board, I'd have a better shot at a draw. His king is like nicely placed here. I couldn't check him at all. You know, he's maintaining his queen on this diagonal. I could learn a lot from this player, couldn't I? That's a really nice setup to have your king nestled in on this square and then have the diagonal protected by your queen while you push your queenside pawns. I really like what he's doing here. I mean, he basically gave me no counterplay at all, is what happened. So takes. I split up my pawns, which probably isn't best, but what can I do? I think I'm lost. Yeah, I bring my king up. f6, just intending to take the square away from his king, because now I have that going on. But yeah, I don't know. g5 is fine. a4. Yeah, and I guess he's threatening this. But maybe that draws, for all I know. Let's see what happens if this takes place. Definitely doesn't draw. It says it's completely winning. Yeah, I can take with my c pawn. But then, yeah, he can take this way, can't he? The other way is even better. But this is fine. a5, a desperate try. c5. Peter wants that. Yeah, a3. I would definitely play a3. King c3. So he has to go chase my pawn, but the problem is these guys are doing a great job keeping my king out. Can't do anything. So a2, king b2. Computer wants to make a rook. It's kind of funny. Yeah, and this is great. These pawns are just walling me out. I can't do anything. And now he's probably just going to calmly bring his king back and crush me. So there you go. Yeah, plus 60. So white's just winning. So I had no hope in this endgame, I don't think. So I'll just play through it. I mean, I'm hoping for stalemate, of course. Yeah, here I'm just like, what's the weirdest move I can make? Because everything loses. And yeah, I was hoping maybe he could get in zigzwang or something, but no hope. Check. Now he's getting in. This probably, yeah. I mean, he probably could play this here, even. And now I'm just hoping for stalemate, but this looks completely lost. Yeah, what can I do? So yeah, great playing by my opponent, Remchene. I could really tell he was a strong player, and what can we learn from this game, right? That's the main point of looking at these games, is we want to learn something. So in the opening, well, I learned that this queen retreat is the 100% book move. So I do like that. I'm glad that that makes sense. Yeah, here I learned you can actually castle and if this happens, play knight g4. So a little opening nuance. Yeah, and here, oops, I went into a line. Yeah, we had this sacrifice threatened, but it's not really going to work, but he knew that. Okay, this typical exchange happened. Bishop g4, totally fine. Taking was actually fine. Yeah, and here I was thinking correctly because you want to look at your e5 and c5 breaks. But I was right in not playing it because they don't really work. I know the computer actually said you could play c5, but it still, gave white a slight advantage. Yeah, and here, I could think about expanding on the queen side. That's always something you can do. Yeah, and then e5. So computer doesn't call this a mistake. It just calls it slightly inaccurate, but yeah, I don't think I would play this move again with this going on. I think I probably should have arranged my pieces in a more pleasing way for me before pushing the pawn break. Yeah, and then we had these series of exchanges. Yeah, and basically I have two huge weaknesses after the pawn break. And that's that my knight's pinned two ways. I mean, so that's obviously, if you play a pawn break, you want it to end up where your opponent is facing some tactic during or after, and like their pieces are pinned or x-rayed or there's forks threatened and so forth, or skewers. And in this case, I ended up in a double pin. So I did not do that right. But it was hard to figure out what to do here. Yeah, and then my blunder, queen e7, losing a pawn because I need to maintain defense of this knight. What could I do better here? Yeah, computer said rook d6. So this kind of takes my rook out of a pin because now it's defended by the queen, and it maintains defense of d5. If you were to play something like this, computer gives queen e1 check. I don't think I'd play that. It says you can play king f8, queen e6. Queen e6 I don't like because now you're pinned again. Yeah, you have to maintain defense of d5. So king f8 is a move. Queen d1. So continuing to keep pressure here. Yeah, queen f5. It seems like it feels like I'm just tied down. I can't do anything. Now rook d4. Rook d7. Yeah, I'm like waiting. Isn't that what's happening here? I like rook d7 though. So a computer wants the queen here, defending this, defending this. Everything's defending everything. That's a nice little, yeah, I like that. That's a nice little fortress going on. So I guess if you're going to wait, you might as well create an optimal coordinated defense. So I guess maybe that's one of those deeper things to do that I don't really know yet. Because I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have thought of, like, okay, I have to maintain defensive d5, so I'm going to create this little structure. So that's good for me to know. So I guess that's the main thing to learn is that, well, first of all, I shouldn't blunder, right? So the key moment was that I need to understand that despite all these threats going on, I also need to maintain defensive d5. So, but that's part of chess. Once there's a lot of threats all at once, you're more likely to miss something. And so I missed this. Yeah, and after this, I think it's just a lost endgame. Yeah, it's hard to, computer says white is plus 1.3. Yeah, probably the queen trade was the wrong way to go, but I was in time pressure at this point. And then I went on to lose an easy endgame for my opponent. All right, so thanks for watching. I hope that you got something out of this, and I think I did. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.